Nicole, I'm so grateful to have you today as we're kind of busting into this new spring energy, rebirth. You and I had a conversation last week or the week before. I don't know. Time is just all one big conglomerate. But I was fascinated with some of the things you were talking about with regards to womb alchemy. It's something we've talked about on my podcast in past episodes. I think a lot of my listeners might be deepening into what that means. And some of my listeners aren't really exposed to even what that even means at all. So maybe we could start there. That
Yeah.
why we focus, or why I'm just making it personal to you, why you focus on, let's just say, that area of the body, the womb, and what it means, why that's a focus for your work.
Well, I am someone who was heavily in my masculine energy my entire life and embracing being a woman, embracing the feminine energy that each and every one of us has was very difficult for me. I was very resistant to it. And that affected a lot of my life. It affected how things showed up in my world, what I was able to receive, not receive. And so a lot of my healing journey it started with the womb space, particularly my cervix, but then it also went into other areas, particularly exactly the womb. And so it has shown up in different ways of why I need to be focused on there, specifically to heal certain traumas, or whether they were generational or actual traumas from this lifetime. Or also when we talk about the fun side of the womb space is how to access anything you've ever wanted to know. Like
Yeah.
the secrets of the universe hidden in the womb space. And that was kind of the final thing that I was shown after going through a lot of the healing was like, okay, now we're going to hit you with the good stuff. And I mean the good stuff.
So give us an example of what that means. Aside from like the pleasure principle or creation is in the womb and that sacral chakra area. Of course, men have access to that portal as well, but it's different.
I mean, obviously, there is a specifically energetic. For the women, you have a physical portal, a physical womb. So that's the difference between the man and the woman. But when you actually have something you can feel in your body, it's a lot easier to feel into, to access, and to visualize in your own embodiment. And so I was shown on a mushroom journey that okay, well, I was shown first. So I was shown what to do, and I don't know if you want me to go into it right now of
Yeah,
like
I mean,
how
I
to
know, and
connect.
just to add a little caveat, I have done an episode on psilocybin
Mhm.
microdosing. So I know this is a lot of it's really up for a lot of people in the conscious right now who are using plant medicines to have deeper experiences, and usually they're highly symbolic because they tap into the subconscious. So it's usually just for us that we receive something, but it's usually so profound because it's speaking directly to our work or what we're here to learn. And so I just wanted to offer that caveat to whoever's listening. I'm always intrigued when somebody tells me a deep experience they have in plant medicine, if it's the right set and setting and container, because it can be multi-layered in terms of
Mhm.
what it means symbolically and yeah, through soul evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not for everyone, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think it's an important conversation to have around this, that if you don't feel called to it, you shouldn't be experimenting with it or
Yeah.
trying it, but if you do feel called to it, then that's something open to exploring for sure. For me, I was definitely called to it, and part of that is because I know that in a past life, I was definitely working with the plant medicine as a shaman, and so this was kind of reactivating that part of me and bringing in past life experiences into this now, which were laying dormant until this time period, and so in this journey which was not a microdose. This was a macrodose journey. I was guided to drop into my womb space. And through a sequence of events of how I did that, when I fully surrendered, what happened is as I was laying in the waters of the womb and I saw light language symbols all lit up, floating down like raindrops hitting the water that I was being held in. Upon full surrender, the portal of the womb literally opened up like a planetarium, where I saw the galaxy. So,
Mm.
where I might think I was looking at the other walls of my womb space, all of a sudden just a portal opened and now I had access to the universe.
Just like expansiveness and openness and
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
Yes. And, it's interesting, I should say that and we'll go into it a little later, but the light language symbols that I saw floating down, I understood them to be goddess codes.
Mhm.
And so, it was kind of like infusing more feminine energy into the waters and what it means to hold that goddess frequency. And so when I opened up this portal, I was like, "Oh, okay, so now my consciousness is now out in the universe, and I am understanding that I can ask any question I want and be willing and I'm because I'm so open and surrendered and I'm in that receptivity mode, I can receive the answer to anything I ask." And I was
This is so
shown that
powerful. I'm just gonna stop you there. Just
yeah,
that's hitting me, that this word receiving or being open and that don't you feel like that's when the greatest answers arrive is when we're in receptivity? And like you were talking about, you typically oriented towards your masculine, which is like, let's figure this out, let's get this done, let's move to action. But this is a different way to get what you want, for lack of a
yeah,
better phrase, is just to be in that openness and the receptivity.
yeah.
That's all my work is focused on, honestly, when I distill it down.
Yeah, the receptivity principle is a feminine principle.
Yeah.
And so if you are not open to receiving, and in order to fully receive, you have to be in full surrender, which is an interesting concept for someone who's very used to being in their masculine energy. Surrender is not the name of the game. But when you are, then you aren't holding up any blocks. You aren't holding up any resistance. You aren't saying no to anything. You are in full faith and trust.
And you're
And
not
that,
judging what's happening. Right?
yes.
Because if you were to go into your head, you're like, "Oh my gosh, well, is this even real? Because 'Cause I'm in a plant medicine and did it." You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
that's from what I have read, seen, and experienced, especially in those kind of portal experiences in plant medicine, when you're going deep and your soul is taking you to a really deep place, the natural go-to is resistance because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what we're gonna be shown, and so that's why we don't surrender. And that's why we tense up and resist because we don't, it's that uncertainty part. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
It's the lack of faith.
yeah, and I think curiosity, I think if we can be in curiosity like a child and just observe with wonder, to me, that's one of the biggest ways to open up into that receptivity and surrender.
It really is. Curiosity will kill the judgment
Mm.
because you're in a state of, "Oh, isn't that interesting? Oh," like, you're not judging, you're just like, "Oh, wow, something new. I didn't
Yeah,
see it that way before." Like, you're just open. You're just open.
yeah.
So, yeah, curiosity is a powerful, powerful state to be in.
Sometimes, and I want to keep you to keep going on your story, but I just can't get past this curiosity thing because that is what they say curiosity killed the cat, and I can see why. So, um, if you have a lot of programming, let's say that were heavily indoctrinated in something, it doesn't have to be a religion, it could be anything, and you're having an experience because you're open and curious, and it bumps up against that old paradigm. Like you're shown something that goes completely against what you were taught or what you're conditioned to believe. And that when I take people into those kinds of experiences, not in Platonism, but just like through guided meditation or through facilitation of some kind, or working with them one on one, and I'm guiding them into themselves, and they're seeing and experiencing things that are brand new. Their first barrier that pops up is this. This is not what I was taught. This goes against everything that I was taught to believe, and that can create that resistance. And the more resistance that they hold, is the degree to which they suffer when they're in that, right? In that place of like their soul's trying to show them something and they're like, "No, really, I don't wanna know. But thanks anyway. I'll just
Yeah,
go on where I was before." Yeah.
that what you resist is gonna persist, so good
Yeah.
luck.
Right, it'll show up in another way if it's not in that medicine journey.
Yeah.
It'll try to the universe will try to show you something in another yeah.
I've learned through plant medicine journey to not be scared of whatever I'm being shown, to not be in resistance because whatever it is, it's just another version of me. And if I am dedicated to the path of truth, which is the path of awakening, then I have to be willing to see it all. And so I just hold space for just being open to seeing something that is just another fraction or fractal or piece of me that maybe I don't want to look at. And okay, well, now let's look at it. And sometimes
Mhm.
we're not aware of what we're not even willing to look at. So when these things come up, it's so easy to say, like, oh, I want to know the truth. And it's like, well, the
Which one?
truth is something you might have been avoiding for so
Yeah.
long and you don't even realize it. So,
Yeah, so you're, immersed in this water and you're being held and supported, and I'm assuming you felt safe so that you could open more and surrender more and receive more, and then you started to see what you've discerned now as goddess codes that were coming into the water and sort of sustaining. So what transpired after that?
so I found my consciousness floating through the universe and I came upon a 14-foot feline female being standing on a floating ancient torn down temple. Like, I don't know how else to tell you what it was, but it was an absolute, like, kind of like a ancient crumbling building that was on a platform that was literally floating in the universe. And she's standing there and she's so powerful. She's so beautiful. And she's got feline ears. And on her, this is something that I don't know why I remember this. But there were two lines that crossed through the front of her ears. And she told me that her name was Niet, so N-E apostrophe E-T. And she had these really white eyes, like there was no color, no pupil, no nothing. And she just kind of stared into me and she started to communicate with me telepathically. And she was downloading me with all of this information that was for the understanding how to activate the womb,
Mm,
for increased fertility, for increased creation, for increased um, ability to heighten your intuition, like whatever it might be. And as she was downloading, all of a sudden the whites of her eyes just became like a movie screen and all these visions started crossing over her eyeballs. And I was just immersed in this like storytelling that it was the most incredible telepathic kind of download that I've ever received. And just I didn't know everything that I was getting in the moment. I unpacked it in the next coming days and weeks and turned it into a course that I offer now. But it was quite stunning
mm,
to see that. And through the journey, as the journey continued, and she was always there, but I was no longer floating on this ancient temple platform. I had I had a massive Kundalini awakening, not in a scary way, because I've had that before. I had that in my earlier phase of my awakening journey in my early 30s. But now it was all about the pleasure. It was all about the enjoyment. It was all about the curvy, seductive, feminine magnetism of like movement and flow and luring things into you. And
mm,
I was being shown how to go into other dimensions of reality of what it is that I want to create and go in and find the threads and weave them into this dimension.
mm,
And so I was just kind of shown like you can pick things up from other dimensions and weave them into here. but then I was also shown how to, so as a woman, we know that there's like, okay, we know that in the masculine feminine polarities, there's like a hunter and a prey, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and this was taught to me a year earlier and says, you got to learn how to become the huntress. And I wasn't really sure what that
Mhm.
meant.
Reminds me of the archetype of Artemis.
Okay,
Are you
so I
familiar
don't,
with that?
no, no, I'm not.
And Diana, they're both the huntress archetypes for the divine feminine.
Okay. So I don't know exactly how they're portrayed,
Mhm.
but I know how it was shown to me.
Mm.
And it was the way I was being shown to use was, of course, our senses are very important. And I was shown to use the sense of smell. And the
My
reason why is
favorite.
because the sense of smell can be very intoxicating.
Mhm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Like there's polarities within everything. And so I was shown to go into different dimensions of reality, of existence, of what it is I wanted to create or what I wanted to pull or attract towards me,
Mhm.
and start dropping my scent
Mm.
into those areas so that the person I wanted to find me would be able to follow my scent back to me.
Were you shown how to do that? That's super cool.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm hugely into aromatherapy, and I've studied smell like you wouldn't believe. The pedagogy of smell is like your most complex scent. It's 10,000 times more complex than even your sense of sight, and it's the only direct portal to the amygdala in your brain. There's so many things about scent that I think are gonna start coming more into the consciousness, but that's so interesting that you were shown that
Yeah.
because it's a very feminine. If you think of, like, pheromones and aphrodisiacs that only come through, everybody has their own signature, like, scent.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, no,
Taking
exactly.
perfumes and aromas out of it
Mhm.
completely, yeah.
Mhm.
So were you kind of shown how that works, like, how to do it? Was it just, like, commanding it through visualization or how?
A lot of it was visualization and meditation and action in the meditation. So whenever I'm in meditation, I always activate every sense I have. And when I'm visualizing myself somewhere, I activate my sense of touch, smell, sight, hearing, everything. So that when I'm in the area that I am playing in,
Mhm,
that I feel like I'm there, like literally feel like I'm there. And so I went into a space and I started to take my hands and fingers and run them along the furniture and leaving my scent in the furniture and just walking through the area, like walking maybe by the curtains or whatever it was. And I just make sure I was dropping my scent and leaving my scent everywhere that would be engaged in that place. And putting out the intention that, you will find me.
mm,
And I don't know when that will be. I have faith and trust that the timing will orchestrate when it's correct for me and say whatever reality I'm interacting with,
mhm.
or person in that reality I'm interacting with. And again, the faith and the trust is so important, but hunters go out to hunt their prey, where the way I was shown was the huntress leaves her scent to lure whatever it is that she wants to come towards
Yeah,
her.
it's a very magnetized it's a
Mhm.
magnetism model. It's a different kind of hunting when a divine feminine
Yes,
archetype is
because I
out.
wasn't looking to kill
No,
anything,
no, no. No, you're
I
not
wa
mounting a
I'm
deer head
looking
on your
actually to
wall.
create. Yeah, I'm looking actually to create, to
Yeah.
co-create.
Uh-huh.
And so this was like, how do I lure this towards me? And so it was kind of activating the temptress of the feminine, which again, I think we're so programmed through a lot of dogma and religion and just society in general of like to be tempting means to be evil, but
Yeah.
you can be tempting in a really honest and pure way. If your
Mm,
intention is to create beautiful things and your heart's in the right place, why not use that to lure in? That frequency will lure in the right kind of frequency as well, right? So you're
Yeah.
kind of
If it's
creating
a
from that
vibrational
place.
match, like if you're
Yeah.
sending out, you're only gonna receive what you're sending out in terms of that vibrational frequency. So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes I love that because, if you have this intention and you just randomly send it out to the universe without specificity, then you get a lot of ambiguity coming back at you. Whereas if you're very intentional, like you said, with visualization and like seeing the details of like touching the curtains and the furniture, and just, I love that because it's so rich with sensory detail.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's
You
how
have to
creation
be
works.
Yeah, be well, again, richness, fertility, feminine, right? So
Yeah.
be really sensual and activate every sense you have. So I will always touch things in my visualization. I will run my fingers over things. I will lean into things. I will smell the air. Is there a music playing? Is there a song? Is there just what sounds do I hear? Is it just nature? Like, I don't know, but I activate everything so that I my brain believes I'm there.
Yeah. 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 So your
Mhm.
womb's already there, right? It's like you
Yeah.
so like those codes are activated, and we can go into more what those codes mean
Mhm.
and your story, but I just find that really, really rich. Like, if like your brain and your mind has to catch up sometimes with what your body already knows, and they can
Yes.
like fight. Like your heart and your mind can kind of like war a little bit. And same with the
Mhm.
womb, because those three areas, your mind, your heart, and your gut, or your womb, your heart, and your brain, or whatever, those are your main neuroprocessing centers. Those are your main spiritual, emotional neuroprocessing centers. I call them the three brains. I used to do a whole thing on multiple braining. But those three, if they're not connected, if they're not on the same team, then you have this kind of like dissonance happening and disconnection. And so the brain is what I found, maybe you agree with me, is the last one to kind of catch up with what's really going on.
Well, this is why plant medicine is so powerful for anyone who's not using it or not feeling called to it. All you have to do to mimic it is heighten every sense you can.
Mm,
If you act There's a reason why. So when people have these big shifts from plant medicine, this is something I was also shown. Um, Actually, this was shown to me in an ayahuasca journey. But the reason why people have such compelling changes and transformations and shifts in their who they are and their reality after sometimes a really deep medicine journey
mhm,
is because when you're in it, you feel so much. Every sense is so heightened that you believe with everything that you have that it is real.
right.
And so everything in your technology, your brain, your body, your DNA, everything is on board with this is happening. This is real. And I'm not saying it isn't.
It is real.
It is real.
It is,
But
it's like a different dimension you just hopped into.
yeah, but the ability to sense at the levels that you're sensing when you're on plant medicine far supersedes anything that you're able to really know here. And now, unless you're willing to practice and go so deep into this sensory stuff, but even then, like it's like I mean, I remember my first time on a mushroom journey. My hearing was so sensitive. I could hear more than I think what dogs could hear. Like, I was
Mm,
hearing miles down a road where my friend who was with me guiding me couldn't hear anything. And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And
mhm,
so it's one of those things where when all your senses are on the same page and they're
mhm.
heightened at that level,
Which is the heightened receptivity, right?
yes, it's the heightened receptivity. And that heightened receptivity causes new neural pathways to not just be
Mhm,
formed, but to be deepened and permeated, almost crystallized into
mhm,
existence so much faster
mm.
than if you were to kind of half-ass it a little bit, get a little bit here, a little bit there. You're maybe giving it a little this, a little that. And you have to go over and over and over and over with it. Well, when you go full gusto, like when you just like
Just like
let
the
it rip,
macro heroes, yeah.
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 and you, like, turn everything on that you have in your ability as a human being,
Yeah.
because we have a lot available to us, that is why you get these incredible shifts in your reality and who you are.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned this to you when we spoke, but I had a journey like I had experience like that in Costa Rica. 4 nights in a row, ayahuasca. The 4th night, I literally left my body. I went completely off the grid. Like it was Kundalini. It was a lot of other things too. Something that I'm still integrating 3 years later, exactly 3 years ago this month. Um, but but it was this is why I always, like, tell people, like, this is why plant medicines are coming to the forefront in our consciousness. This is why they're making a quote, unquote, "comeback." They've been around for millennia, longer than we have,
Mhm,
and they're coming back because it's time to shift the way we're doing and seeing and experiencing things. The only rea and I'm sure you would agree with me on this, like, the only reality that we can really anchor to is love. And there's, of course, love means lots of things. But for me, that was my anchor. And what we're moving into as a species is like this whole thing around trauma release. So we've inherited all this intergenerational trauma, and the wisdom of the earth knows what is going to take us through that in the most efficient, not easiest way. I will say it's not like going to get high, just FYI, everyone listening. That's not what it's about. Um, it's about accessing parts of you that you cannot otherwise access because you have all these protections in place. And some people call it ego, something, whatever it is, it's there to keep you and survive, it's helped you survive to this point. And
mhm,
so we can't see what we can't see.
mhm.
And to me, I do believe it is the new frontier in medicine. I mean, my background is in psychology. I've studied tons of stuff around mind body. But until I went into like openness and receptivity and didn't close down because it was this old paradigm, I was taught it was all about Satan and evil spirits getting into you and all these things. I had to just release that. And like you were said, you got called to it, right? It calls you or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it called to me for like 2 years. Finally, I said yes. And then anyway, so I love this idea of the heightened receptivity. When you were shown what you were shown and the expanse opened up, let's just say, and you're just kind of like, I'm just envisioning it as like a 360 of this openness, right? All around you. And you saw this beautiful creature. When you told me that the first time, I was thinking of Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess who comes through a lot for people in archetypal ways, but it was probably not her. It's like Niet. Is that what you said? That was,
Yeah, it's different being.
but it's just like raw power.
Never heard of Niet before. I've never heard of that name before. It's just that's what came through, and I was shown how to spell it. Um,
But
and
those feline archetypes for the divine feminine are nothing but raw power. It's just
mm,
the most powerful feminine force, you could say.
I I know I've definitely got some Lyran energy here, but I've the feline archetype is so interesting. I find cats here on this planet just so beautiful to observe. I've even had a union ceremony with a black jaguar for my abilities to guide people on deeply transformative, dark, and shamanic journeys of going into the deepest, darkest place and rebirthing yourself into the light. And I literally became a cat when this happened. Like I could feel a tail. I could feel my legs started moving in this different pattern that I'm like, "What is that?" And I still do it to this day now. Like, even when I'm, like, just, lying in bed or something, I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And it's so incredible what activates within us, and what we're capable of feeling and knowing and embodying. And I love the feline energy. It is, you're right, it's raw power for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, there's been an association with somehow like if a woman has power, she's either a seductress, she's manipulating, she's this, she's that, whatever.
Because it's so
And
powerful.
yeah,
So you've
because it
got
is
you've
the
gotta make
most
it
powerful
bad.
force.
You've gotta make it bad so people stay away from
Yeah,
it, right?
you gotta
And
fear
but
it. Yeah,
yeah, but it can certainly be used for good.
yeah, it is good. It is good.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you were shown how to kind of like leave your scent, which is really powerful. And then what happened? What happened?
I just went through this complete I was just downloaded with so much stuff on
Mm,
how to create this way, how to take people on their own journey, how to clear the shame, the guilt, all that from the sacral chakra to release the womb from literally lifetimes of ancestry, lifetimes of shame and guilt that suppresses the goddess energy within the womb. I was shown that one of the goddess codes is actually the number 5.
mm.
And, I thought that was interesting because I was also shown, like, just really quickly, so our hands have 5 fingers, our feet have 5 toes, and, we have 5 orifices on our face,
And I'm
actually.
55, just FYI.
There you're 55, there you go, you're perfect. You're in total goddess mode right now. But the reason I was shown the number 5 was, 1 the number 5, I don't know if do you study tarot or
No, but I really
numerology?
am into, like, 222 shows up for me all the time, the number 7, so I've dove into those, and some with
Okay.
the 3s and the 1111, but not the 5.
5 is traditionally a very challenging number.
Mm,
When you see the number 5 show up, it means obstacles, challenges. Um, it's you see the 5 in a tarot reading, you're like, "Oh, a 5 just came up," you know?
mm,
But I was shown that the original blueprint of it is a goddess frequency because it actually allows you to overcome all the obstacles and challenges with a lot of ease. Even when you think about the birthing of a baby into this world, you go through labor pains, right? Birthing pains. But what comes through it is incredible gifts. Now, what was taken with the number 5 and how we understand it now is the patriarchy in a sense of suppressing the feminine to make us scared of the 5, to make us think the 5 was bad, to make us think that the 5 just meant loneliness, the 5 just meant challenges, the 5 just meant isolation or lack or whatever it is that is associated with the number 5. And it's actually the exact opposite. It is total abundance. And
mm.
I was told to make sure I had 5s in my price code for the course when I offered it because it was really important to
That's
do
so funny,
that.
all my courses are like 222, 777. 'Cause I those numbers mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they
Mhm,
they work for you, yeah. And so that was kind of like I was shown how that was part of the way that there's a goddess code held within the number 5.
mhm.
And oh, here's what's really cool. I didn't realize this until actually talking about it. But my dad was actually trying to show me the goddess code from when I was a kid without him ever even knowing it. He wasn't conscious of this at all.
Mm,
But his favorite number is number 5. And he
mm.
had his hockey jersey was number 5. He had the number 5 on
Oh,
his
wow.
license plate in his car. Like it was just 5
Mm,
everywhere. Like 5 was his thing.
mm.
And I just thought that that was so interesting that I was being shown that even as a kid, but obviously wouldn't know anything about it until this was all revealed to me.
Yeah.
Um, and so and interesting that it was my dad that was showing me that.
That is beautiful. When you were talking about sending, what kind of weaving threads together and like pulling them to you. And I was just in my mind looking at like timelines in our lives. So when you said that about when you were younger, I mean, sure, that was one of the threads that you were able to pull through. I can look back on my life and see where the number 2 showed up the same way. So interesting. Um, so how long ago was this journey that you did, by the way, the one that you were just talking about?
This was a little over almost a year and a half ago.
Okay. So how now, like integrating that and bringing it into your work, um, because usually if you have an experience like that, it's because you have a path with helping others to claim that or see it or guide them into that same space.
Mhm.
And I know that you went into this work like womb alchemy and helping people with releasing past sexual trauma or like you said, being able to go into the womb where everything is shown you, like the secrets of the universe. So how do you get there? Like, and how did
Okay, so I was actually shown something that I haven't actualized fully yet. I know it's gonna be part of my path. But I was so what happened was I was actually on that same journey. I was also taken into ancient Egyptian times, and I was taken into a temple, a fertility temple.
Hmm,
And I was shown how, and I was a woman in there with all these other women, and was shown that this was where women would go before they would even try to conceive a child. And it was about increasing your fertility through connecting to the soul that was wanting to come in. And so I saw all these women activating their Kundalini energy, and all the women were kind of moving in these really curvy, kind of sensual ways, and just activating pleasure and all that. And not in like a sexual way that a lot of people would
right,
think. It was
right.
really
Just wanna
sacred.
embody,
Yeah, it
like,
was
that creative
really,
life
really
force.
beautiful and
Mhm.
sacred. And as the women were doing this, a portal opened up in the temple, again, to the galaxy, and all of a sudden, I started singing a song, and I saw the song leave my mouth in a frequency, energetic form, and I saw it traveling out through the portal into the galaxy, and it reached a soul. And it was a baby who wanted to come into this world, and it would follow the song to its mother. And this is how you increase the fertility and increase your chances of actually getting pregnant.
Mm,
And so this was something that I'm going to teach women. Like I've already been shown like certain things of what to do, but to kind of bring back some of the ancient ceremonies but modernize them, because so many women are having trouble and difficulty getting pregnant in a very masculinized energy form, because women have been so masculinized over the last few decades, and how to teach them to kind of reconnect, but through these ancient ways. So that was really beautiful. And I
that is
watched
beautiful, I
the
love that,
soul
that
like follow
frequency.
in.
Yeah, music.
Yeah. And I don't know, I've also heard, which is interesting, I was told after, that there are tribes like in say in Africa, that the mother sings a song
Yeah, I
before
was
she's,
gonna
yeah,
yeah, that is a thing, yeah.
yeah,
I studied conscious conception when, and I think I may have shared this with you, that I had like 4 miscarriages in a row because I saw these 2 children in a vision, and they looked just like my older kids, and so, anyway, I tried to get pregnant, 4 miscarriages in a row. Finally lifted it up as, like, maybe these are my grandchildren or something, I don't know, but that I went to a coach who specialized in conscious conception, and she helped me kind of do that, but not in the way that you're saying. It's just calling these souls in, because I could see them, and I was doing everything I could on my end to just be open to what was unfolding. But they came in very miraculous ways. These 2 children, 2 separate private adoptions. But this conscious conception coach, she shared with me something very similar to what you're talking about. It's like, talk to this soul, you know, bring in all the sensory detail of like how you're going to take care of them, that it's safe to come to you, that you're waiting, you love them, and all of those things we wanted, when before we were conceived. It would have been great if our parents were like, we really want, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But it's just a different way of letting a soul incarnate into your care, is through calling them in. So I love that idea. It's just
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. It's amazing what we can actually do. There's so many techniques and options available to us if we're willing to open our minds
Yeah, that's just it. I
and our
think we're
womb
living in a
space.
time where we have to literally come home to our senses, open up, let go of the old paradigms that aren't serving us, that have been making us sick and keeping us in these old patterns. Um, what I would love for you to do is to take us through sort of I know you have a certain process that you use for helping us connect into the womb space. It's a very unique one, and it has to do with
Yeah.
those 3 brains I was talking about. So maybe you could just share with our listeners, like, the way that you support or guide someone into really accessing their womb wisdom.
Yeah. So how I was shown first was, you want to just get comfortable, close your eyes, and whatever, if it's sitting on your meditation cushion and you're on your bed, in a chair, whatever it is, and really bring your awareness to your pineal gland and have your consciousness resonating there and just hovering there. And as you connect with your pineal gland, you then draw the awareness and consciousness down towards your heart, so that the pineal gland connects with your heart and your consciousness is now residing within the heart space. And then to continue allowing that connection to be drawn and furthered as you drop your awareness into your womb space,
Mm.
which is the sacral chakra. It is also your intuitive center. And as I was being shown to drop my awareness, I was being shown to drop my awareness as if I was this tiny little person,
Little Nicole.
a little tiny Nicole, and dropping down and then dropping into my actual womb where I saw myself resting in the eternal waters of the womb space and to feel the warmth and the surrender and to just allow myself to be supported, to allow myself to let go and know that I am held and that I am safe. And that is the essence of the womb space.
Mm.
And I had to really tune into my own internal faith and to trust that where I was absolutely divine and safe for me to let go. And so I kind of allowed myself to feel like I was floating in the water and feeling what it's like to be buoyant and being held. And I felt the temperature in there was very comfortable, and it's not like too warm, it's not too cold, it's
Mhm.
just like the perfect temperature. And that is when I allowed, I guess I saw, but I also kind of guide people to allow for light to start raining down around you. Whatever color really resonates with you. If you see symbols, if you see cuneiform, if you see whatever it is that you see, any kind of symbol like kind of floating down. Maybe you don't see anything. Maybe it's just light. That's totally okay. And as you see the light floating down, see it touch the water and it just kind of sparkle and shine and expand through the water and disperse and infuse
Mm.
the water that you're in with all of this high frequency light. And through there, you just keep surrendering and surrendering and surrendering and surrendering until you've really truly allowed yourself to completely let go. And when you do, that is when it's time for you to open the portal and ask the universe anything you wish.
Mm. How beautiful.
Mhm.
That's probably the best visualization exercise I've heard of getting into your womb space, so thank you. I
You're
love it.
welcome. Yeah, anything that's fun, I'm down for.
I know, right? It's that feline in you, okay?
Yes.
All right, Nicole, I know you have an offer coming up, and please share with our listeners how they can find you online and then what you've got in the works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube are my main ones, and my handle's Nicole Frolick, so it's easy to find me there. My website is nicolefrolick.com. I am going to be holding a master class on how to heal generational and childhood trauma without the use of psychedelic drugs and without taking years of therapy. This master class is something that I was again shown through a medicine journey on how to help others who maybe don't want to or not called to help heal this. And I'm going to be holding that master class in I think early May. That will be the next one,
Mhm. So
and
coming
it'll
up.
be yeah, coming up, and I'll also be opening up, a limited space group coaching program that's 8 weeks long, where I will guide you through the process of the unmasking, looking into the guardian of the gate, which is something I talk about with generational trauma, which is like the invisible wall that holds everyone back from whatever it is that you want. We tear down that wall, we remove it from your DNA,
Mm.
from the genetic trauma that's passed down to you. I take you on a deep dive into your subconscious. We start to reclaim all the lost parts of you, and then I help you rebirth yourself into a higher form of destiny that you feel called to. And so
Mm.
that program will be kicking off in May as well. So if either of those you feel called to, I'll give you the link for that. And of course, if anyone's interested in the Womb of Activation course, that's always available in my academy.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you for these resources and thank you for what you shared today. It's really powerful.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.